you very much. And I feel highly honored to be here today with all the team of today's session, and especially Kuriako sir and the honorable principals of the different schools on the topic competency-based education. So when we are sitting here with the topic competency-based education, what I would like to tell you all is, please do not consider this as a webinar on which we are going to talk a lot, or, I am here to talk a lot on this particular topic and then, make the session a boring one with a one-sided talk. But my appeal to you all is, please feel free to discuss, because I have come here to interact with an excellent and elite team of people who are in the leading educational institutions, who are teachers practicing in the classrooms every day, and who are teachers upskilled and updated to deliver the content to the children, to upbring them to the present standards, required standards of the society and the present scenario. So instead of being passive listeners, let's be active participants, so that we will become models and we will become ourselves involved and participating in activities where we will be modeling the same before our students too. So my request is to kindly participate than waiting to listen from the speaker, because no speaker will find satisfaction unless the participants do take part actively. So before we go to the presentation, just let me ask you a very simple question to you. Please consider it very light. What is competency-based education according to your perspective? So please type in the chat box, what do you really mean when we are sitting to discuss on a topic named competency-based education? What do you expect me to talk on? Or what is your knowledge on competency-based education? What do you really mean? What is your idea? So that if I know the idea, your idea on what is competency-based education, I can moderate my talk accordingly, so that it will be a building upon session on the knowledge which you already have constructed. So please do share your inputs in the chat box on competency-based education. You can type it in a word or in a sentence, whatever you feel comfortable with. Let it be anything, let it go wrong, doesn't matter. Ability to master a skill, Anita Noble has written, Madam has written, ability to master a skill. Sumam Johnson, to allow the students master their skills, fine, okay. Demonstration of skills learners achieved, Vishnu, okay. Yeah, come on, everybody type out. Just don't be satisfied that somebody has typed the answer seems to be correct and hence I can sit quiet. No, please see that everybody contribute your best. Whatever you know, please share it. I've got only 3 responses. Yeah, Mini George, it is individual's capability of performing a task successfully, right? Yeah. Any more comments? There are many members I can find, including myself. There are 44 people. At least I expect the 50% of the participants to respond. Lakshmi Priya, soft skill development. George Anthony, differentiated learning as per the student ability. Ability to use the skills effectively, Princy Matthew. Okay. Come on, let it be a repetition, that doesn't matter. Even if it is repetition, you are giving your input to develop the skills of the students by Dhanya Verma. Okay, then to meet different learning abilities and can lead to more efficient student outcomes by Asha Srikumar. Okay, that's good. Then developing the different skills of the student by Annama Umman. Jayasri Shyamla, learning based on the student's skill and improving their skill. 5. Okay. Okay, I think I have received ability to master skills, ability to master a skill according to the student's own ability, improve the skill of the child, shaping the student on his or her learning capability that enables us the ability in the effective way. Yes, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. Skill development by Srihari. Then thank you so much, dear teachers, applying different tactics that help the student to learn. Yes. Competency-based education is to educate with the latest technology as well as the students to be at the best and bring their efficiencies by Jomi John. Okay. Thank you so much for your wonderful responses. And I do value each point, each one of you have put in, because this is the input you are giving to the session. Yes. Jason has written that prepare them to be successful in life and profession. Wonderful. So, every one of us has got an idea on what is meant by a competency-based education, which we are supposed to provide. Okay, fine. That's really wonderful. Thank you so much for your vibrant responses. I do have another question to you. As teachers or as principals, as educators, do we need to have competencies in our area? Please put in the chat box. You can type either yes or no, or agree or disagree, or partially agree. Yes, of course. Okay. Okay, come on. This, I think everybody can respond, because you need not type out a big sentence here. You can just type out a word, either yes or no, or agree or disagree. Yes, wonderful. So all are responding that yes, we need to have some competencies to be experts in our area, be it a professional, be it a principal, be it an educator, be it a teacher, be it anybody in the field, in any field, we have to be competent. I have yet another question to you, my dear friends. Are you confident that you can say that you are competent? Are you competent? Please put a sentence. Please put your response. Are you competent in your field? Yes, wonderful. Yeah, very good, very confident. Thank you so much. So, every one of us, we feel that we are confident that we are competent enough to be in this profession, right? Yes. So, I have not fully, why? Madam Anita Noble has written not fully competent. Okay, so your answer may be that is why you are attending sessions like this, right? Okay, so I have yet another question to you. I'm sorry for asking you so many questions, but I am very weak, very poor that I do strongly believe that questions make people think and questions instill thoughts in us. So I have yet another question to you. Can you just type out one competency you have in you? Any one competency you have in you? Let it be anything, what you feel in the field of education. Since we all are educators, I must have this competency, and I do have it in me. Any one thing, any one quality, any one competency. Don't worry. It is, we must believe what we have first. If we are not people to believe in ourselves, you cannot convince the others that you are something. Yes, subject knowledge, I try to learn from everyone. Ability to convey ideas, okay, very good. Then communication skill, okay, wonderful. Then giving individual support, okay. Student-centered learning, okay. Transactional competency, okay. Fine. Fine. Okay, so you believe that, all of you believe that you have some kind of a competency in you, right? Yes. I do believe that I have some kind of a competency in me, but do we really have it? What is this competency? Just let us see. So, competency-based education, it has three interrelated ingredients. When we speak on it, three interrelated ingredients are there in a competency. Okay, and what are they? Just let us see. A knowledge component, the understanding part. There are three components, three ingredients, three components. So the first one is a knowledge component, which is the understanding part. The second one is a behavioral component, that is the overt behavioral component. The overt behavior means the behavior which we express. That is overt behavior, like walking, dancing, running, using the body language such as hand gestures, facial expressions. These are all, behavioral components. And also it has a value component. That is, it includes some values, beliefs, and attitudes, the value system of a person. So these are the three ingredients or components in a competency. So, I repeat that. There is a knowledge component, which is the understanding part of it. There is a behavioral component after understanding how do we express it. And then there is a value component, that is what kind of value have we imbibed. These are the three ingredients of competencies. And so itself, a competent person, the way a competent person does a task, it has a speciality. When two different people are doing something, the same work, if the person is really competent, if one is competent and the other one is not competent, we know that we easily find it out, right? So how do we find it out? Because the competent person performs a task in such a way that it will express the skills, the knowledge, the attitudes, and the behavior required for that particular task. So a competent teacher, when handles a class for a student, she or he automatically, if she is competent enough, she automatically expresses her knowledge, she or he expresses her talent or skills. They show the attitude towards their own profession, themselves, and to the students, and also the way they behave with the students and to themselves and to the surroundings. So these all add on to the effective performance of the teacher, and hence we can call the teacher is competent. But then what are they? How are we going to explicitly, express and work on this is something very important. So we can say a competency is something, a holistic synthesis of these components. So when I'm trying to take a class for my students, if I'm a teacher competent enough to be in the present scenario of education, the way I perform myself will be the best fitting to the present class. So naturally, I will be possessing the skills which I'm supposed to be imparting to the students. What I would like to find in my students, I would demonstrate in myself first. So the competency, instead of implementing, instead of, bringing in the children, what we have to do is we have to first express it ourselves. We have to prove ourselves that we are teachers competent enough to handle the students of today. So if the teachers are competent enough to handle the students of today, naturally the students will become competent enough. So proudly we can say, I made this student. He is my product, my school product, because my school is a competent institution, because it has a competent team of people starting from A to Z. There is a competent team of people, and hence itself, all the children entering to the campus of the institution go out as competent students, competent individuals. Dear friends, do you believe in this? Do you feel that a competent school must have a competent team to bring out competent students? Can you please respond in the chat box? Do you believe in this? Yes, we do believe that if we have to bring out competent students, we must be competent enough. And if the people in the institution are competent enough, the institution is termed as a competent institution, isn't it? Many of us try for admissions for our own kids, and we search out the best institution. We tell there is a lot of competition. The institution is very competent. A lot of skills will be developed. But then who make all these? Please tell me, teachers, who make all these? who make the institution a competent one? Please. Who make the institution a competent one? I mean the school. Institution, when we speak, the school. Yes, we, the teachers, do that. We, the teachers, do that. So you all will be with me in saying that, we need to be, it is the necessity, it is the need of the hour that we have to be competent teachers in the present scenario so that, our children will be the best products to the society. As per the, vision of the National Education Policy too, the rotten, all the methods of teaching is going to replace with competencies and skills, mastery over the subjects, mastering the skills. And for that, we need to have smart people, masters and skilled people in delivering the content, in making the children skillful and in making the institution skilled so that we will have a set of skilled children too. So a competency can again be divided into 3 components or aspects, It is the ability of a person to show a particular behavior in something. Like, for example, if a teacher is handling a class, the way her behavior, the way the teacher expresses herself, the way the teacher presents herself or himself, that is something very important, right? At a particular context, how the teacher is going to behave, how the teacher is going to deal the context is something very important. And what type of a quality the teacher is having, what is the quality of work the teacher is demonstrating. So these are again very important. In total, the teachers, anybody, see, the teachers have to be role models for the children. Instead of talking so much to the children, we can model ourselves. A parent has to be a role model for the child. Instead of talking so much and advising too much on the child, we can show ourselves, this is the way we do things. And this is the way things go successful. So that the children will get to know, yes, if I do this, this will go successful. So let us be model teachers for our children by expressing these all different kinds of qualities. So here you can find in the screen, what are the competencies required for a teacher? I asked you a question, what competency do you have in you? Just have a look at the screen. Do you interact well with your students? Yes. Please put your answers in the chat box. I am asking questions to you. Please put your responses in the chat box. Do you interact well with your students? You can write it either yes or no. But before you answer, please be confident. Okay, please be self-confident and answer yes. So you have put the answer that yes, I interact well with the students. So interaction or communication is a competency required for a teacher. And you strongly believe that you do have it in you. So you have one competency required for a teacher. Now, do you create a learning environment in your school or in your classroom? Do you create a learning environment? Do your children feel that, yes, I'm sitting to learn? Yes. Or do you feel that, yes, I'm here to share my knowledge? Yes. So you do create a learning environment in the classroom or in the school, be it at home, be it in the school, be it anywhere. But if you are interacting with your children, you try to create a learning environment. Wonderful. So you have the second competency, that is you create a learning environment for the children. Now, do you design a good lesson plan? Yes, teachers, please put your answers. Are you good in planning a good lesson? Lesson plan, how good your lesson plan is. Is it good? Yes. So you know to design a good lesson plan, right? Wonderful. So you have the third competency in you. That is, you know to design a good lesson plan. Now, the next question comes. Are you able to use varied teaching strategies? Or you stick on to the same methodology, the old rotten methodology which we have learned in our old B.Ed classes? Are you using the same thing or you go with varied teaching strategies? Yes, you are trying. Yes, somebody said yes, somebody said you are trying. Wonderful. Whatever it is, it's positive. So you have the fourth competency, that is you know to deal the different sections of the children in your classroom. So we know that the classroom is a place where different children with different abilities are seated. Children with different skills and potentials are seated. Children with different talents are seated. So itself, we must use different strategies and you do it. So you are competent. Now, are you able to assess your children? Yes, teachers. Are you able to assess your children? Yes, of course. We always keep doing that, right? But I have a second question. Are you able to assess yourself? Can you assess yourself? Because a teacher always assesses the children, but the teacher has to self-assess too. If the teacher assesses herself, definitely she'll be able to assess the children in the right way, right? Because student assessment is ultimately for teacher assessment too. Okay, so you all know to assess the children as well as yourself. Fine, wonderful. Now, are you able to identify the student needs? Do you have a need analysis? Do you know that? Yes, before I start delivering this, I must check if it is needed for them. So, do you identify the student needs? Sure, right? So, you do that too. So, you have that competency too in you, right? Now, I have asked you one question right at the beginning. Do you interact well with your students? So, you believe that you are good at communication. So, can you once again state if you communicate well with your students? Do you communicate well with your students? Communication is different from, language proficiency, right? Do you believe in this? So, for communication must happen means language shouldn't become a barrier. But we, the CBSE people, tell that communicate in English. So, do you communicate well with your children? Whatever be the language, yes, you do that. Then, are you able to collaborate with the students as well as your team, your colleagues, your superiors, your team, the entire team, the parents, the children, the stakeholders, right? So you know to collaborate with others. So you have that competency, right? And then, do you maintain a professional appearance? This is something very important. Teachers must look modest. If a teacher doesn't look modest, we cannot guide the children to look modest. So the professionalism should be reflected in the way the teacher presents himself or herself. So do you maintain a professional appearance so that the people looking at you will feel that, yes, she is a teacher or he is a teacher? Do you do that? Do you have a professional appearance? No reply. Why? You doubt whether your appearance is fitting a teacher? Yes, no doubt. You look like a teacher, right? Yes. And then, do you demonstrate commitment to your profession? Do you have commitment to your profession? Are you committed to your profession? Wonderful. Yes, very good. Very wonderful, dynamic. So teachers, please believe that you are competent enough to be in the school. You are competent enough to be a teacher of today's generation. You are competent enough to be dealing with the competent students who are seated in front of you. And you have a place in the heart of every parent that this teacher is capable enough to make my child, mold my child, to build up my child, to train my child, and to give him mastery over different skills. So what we have to do is believe in ourselves. That's what we have to do, right? When we are sitting here for a discussion, what should we have? The confidence that, yes, I can be an active part in the discussion. That is a competency, because without that, having that confidence, we cannot go ahead. We go flop, we go fail, right? So the teachers must have confidence first. If a teacher believes that, yes, I am competent enough to stand in front of my children and deliver the content according to today's scenario, then we are capable enough to stand there. So these are some of the competencies required for a teacher. And the most important characteristic of competency-based education is that it measures learning rather than time. Yes, How much of time did we learn is not important, but what did we learn is important. Yes. So that is what is told. Even if we are sitting and talking for 5 hours together, how much did we speak is not important, but what did we speak and how much did we gain is more important. So this is competency-based education. So even if you are taking half an hour to deliver a particular concept, even if you are taking 2 hours to deliver a particular concept, if the concept is being mastered by the child in the ways it is supposed to be, then the learning has happened. The competency, we try to impart the competency in the child, right? And how do we know the child got this competency? You know, the children will start demonstrating this. Yes, that is, they will try to prove the skill which they have mastered. And that is called as competency. When the child tries to demonstrate the knowledge, demonstrate the skill which he has practiced, regardless of how long it takes, you know, he has mastered the competency. He has gained something which we wanted to be in him, right? We are not training our children to mug up the things and by heart and mug up and then reproduce it in the paper and score marks. Instead, in competency-based education, what are we supposed to do? In competency-based education, we have to be training the children in such a way that, you know, we are facilitating the children in such a way that they are developing certain skills, and whatever they have learned, they will demonstrate. If the children have demonstrated something which they have learned, naturally, you know, we have given him some knowledge. Like, for example, the teachers teach, physics teachers teach the conversion of energy. Like, for example, when we are switching on a bulb, teachers teach that electrical energy is converted into light energy, right? When we teach this concept of conversion of electrical energy to light energy, even a child is switching on the bulb, when the bulb doesn't glow, the child should be able to understand that here the electrical energy is passed when I switched it on, but whether it is passed properly, because the light is not glowing, so the electrical energy is converted into light energy. I cannot say because the bulb didn't glow, the light didn't glow, the bulb didn't glow, so the conversion of electricity did not happen to light. So what has happened to the circuit? Is the circuit closed or open? So how does the passing of electricity happen? If the child is capable enough to talk on this, we can say the point that electricity gets converted into light when we switch on the bulb is been well understood by the child, right? So he is able to understand that. Otherwise, he will write it in the paper, he will score marks, which we give. The test score is not important, but how much competency does he show in understanding and demonstrating it is more important, right? We give a lot of theoretical knowledge, but are the children able to practically implement that? That is very important. So today's education requires that one. Not that they will mug up, they will read it out. They will read it 10 times, 15 times, 20 times, and they will reproduce without even a single word mistake. And then the teacher will give her or him full marks. That is not learning, that is not education. But whatever the child has written, is he recollecting from his knowledge, which he has gathered? Is he thinking on practical aspects? And is he able to put it across in the paper on his own language? Whatever it be, the concept is put across very clearly. That is education. And that is called as competency-based education. Are we able to give this? We have to do. We have to think. So what are the attributes of competency-based learning? Let us see. So in competency-based learning, understand how the learners learn. You know, my dear friends, the problem of today's children is they don't know how to learn. They learn a lot, but they don't know how to learn. So the examination time, the children keep learning, but they don't know how to learn. This is something, a problem for them. So let us teach them how to learn first. So children must learn to learn. That is something very important. Do you feel it is important for children to know how to learn and then start learning? Do you believe in this? Do you feel children should be directed how to learn and then let them learn? It makes the work easy, right? So the children, if they know how to speak and then they start speaking, the speaking becomes effective. Like, same way, if the children know how to learn and then start learning, the learning becomes effective. They learn it within no time because they know what will be the most effective method of learning, right? And then match principles of teaching and learning. Yes, the teacher and the student are interrelated. The teacher goes one way and the child goes the other way. That is not the way. The teaching must, teaching is for learning. So teaching and learning must match. There shouldn't be a mismatching. If the teacher, whatever the teacher is telling, the children are not able to follow, she is not a good teacher. Because the teacher is teaching so much, the teacher is talking so much, but her children are not able to follow her. So it is high time for her to change her method of teaching, right? Because it is not for our self-satisfaction what we are teaching, but it is for our self-satisfaction when the children explain it. So instead of me feeling that I delivered the content the best, I must be able to believe that my children receive the content the best. Only then the teaching process happens very effectively, for learning process to happen effectively. So teaching and learning must match. And then teachers have authority to keep controlling the children when we are a real teacher. But the teachers have to facilitate. It is not the Hitler rule the teacher has to implement in the class, but it is a friendly approach the teacher has to implement in the class. The teacher is supposed to handhold the child who doesn't know things. The teacher is not supposed to abuse the child who doesn't know the things. The teacher is not supposed to give negative remarks, but the teacher is supposed to give positive remarks to handhold the child and uplift him, encourage him, motivate him to do even the things which he never tried to do. So a successful teacher inspires. Do you believe in this? Teachers, do you believe in this? If you are a successful teacher, at least one child you will inspire so that he will become a good learner, right? So inspire the children, make them do that, let them get motivated, let them get encouraged. So the most successful teacher is not the person who makes the 100 marks from the topmost child, but the most successful teacher is the one who makes the minimum pass mark from the weakest child of the class. Do you believe in this? That is the successful teacher. The teacher who makes the minimum pass mark from the weakest child of the class who never passed. That is the most successful teacher. And that teacher can be called as the best teacher because she instilled the inspiration in the mind of the child that, yes, I must study. And he started loving the teacher because he or she gave that inspiration and love in the mind of the child. So the child started loving the teacher. Naturally, when the child starts loving the teacher, the child will start loving the way the teacher speaks. Do you agree with me? The child will feel like listening to the teacher because he or she loves the teacher. Do you agree with me? Because I love my teacher, so I would like to listen to her, right? So naturally, when the child listens to the teacher spontaneously, because it's a flow, the teacher influences. So what happens? The child, without removing his or her eyes, looks at the teacher and listens to her. So naturally, automatically, gradually, the child listens to the subject, loves the subject, because the subject is taught by the teacher whom he loves. So through the teacher, through the love of the teacher, the child started loving the subject, right? And the teacher asked him the most simple questions deliberately because the teacher wants to promote the child, encourage the child. So what happens is the child has to be appreciated before the others. See, I'm telling these are competencies of good teachers. These are competencies of good teachers. So give him the simplest question so that he will be able to answer, make a deliberate attempt so that he will answer correctly and you will appreciate him in front of everybody. So he got the taste of appreciation. Will he not try the next time to answer you? Teachers, please respond. Will he not try to next time to answer you when you ask something or read something for you? Because he knows that you will appreciate him. He will try, surely he will try. He will try, and finally he will start learning something. And once he starts learning, he understands that, yes, others will clap for me, others will appreciate me. And that will be the day the child will go home the most positive way, in the most happy mood, and tell the people at home that today the whole class clapped for me. So he will be picking from his bag that book first, that subject first. So the teacher has become successful. Gradually, he becomes inspired towards learning his subject. So let us handhold the child than controlling the child. Right? Let us become those successful teachers. Model humility, critical thinking, respect, competency, and caring at all times, because we have seen the most noble people, the most knowledgeable people are always the most humble. Right? So let us demonstrate humility, competency, critical thinking, and caring at all times. Then support the acquisition of knowledge. Somebody please mute yourself. Somebody's mic is unmuted. Support acquisition of knowledge, skills, and professional behaviors in all learning domains. What are the learning domains? It's written there still. Please type it out. What are the 3 learning domains you know? You can type any one. You need not type all 3. Okay. Any one learning domain which you know. Cognitive, yes, cognitive domain. Then Mini George has written cognitive domain. What are the other 2 domains? Affective, Santosh Kumar, affective, and one more please. Psychomotor, yes, very good. Most of the people are writing psychomotor domain. Why? Because you like psychomotor domain. Knowledge domain is nothing but cognitive domain. Okay, so cognitive domain, psychomotor domain, and affective domain are the 3 learning domains. Okay, so let us focus on that. We mostly focus on cognitive domain, the assignment parts, the learning parts, the mugging up parts, the test parts. But when we are focusing on the other domains too, all 3 domains, especially the psychomotor domains, as most of you have reflected, competencies begin. That's it. Promote and expect learner accountability for learning. Yes, that's what I said. Provide accountability for the learner. Give him the ownership of his learning. Involve him in learning. That's very important. And then provide timely and specific feedback on the learner progress, beginning with learner self-assessment. Individualize learning experiences according to the needs, because what one learner needs will be different from another learner. So if 35 children are seated in one classroom, all 35 will have different needs. The way he wants you to deliver the content will be different. But we cannot go in 35 different ways. But at least we can try at least 3 to 4 methods, different strategies. Especially now when the learning happens online. How to make online classes very attractive. Yesterday, one of my friends asked me, tomorrow I'm going to deliver a class to some school on how can we make the online teaching very effective. I just give 3-4 tips. You know why? What? Number 1, involve lots of strategies. Because online teaching is something very monotonous. The first time it will be very curious, and next onwards it will become very monotonous, utterly boring. So how can you capture the attention of the students online? Different strategies you have to implement. Then involve the children into learning. This is very important. When children participate, when children involve, they feel that yes, he has the ownership. Give him responsibilities. Let him present the YouTube. Now, suppose the teacher wants to present some video on some particular topic. Give him the task. Let him go to the YouTube, or let him try somewhere and bring out a video and let him present it for his friends. he becomes the owner of his work. So he tries to present the best video for his friends on that particular aspect. So this is called as providing ownership to the learning. Okay. And then increase complexity of performance as the learner progresses throughout the program. Yes. Let him start, as I said some time back. First you give the simple task. As and when his competency increases, give him more and more difficult task, so that from simple to complex, we identify that the child did the simplest one, he succeeded, even the child tasted it, and then he tries for a little bit harder, again harder, and finally he will be able to take big challenges too. This is how we are able to, this is how we perform certain tasks in our school too. The teachers who are not able to, like for example, suppose the teachers want to perform an anchoring on a particular annual day or some function. So we have given a task to the teacher. What do? For the annual day, the teachers will not be given, the teacher who is on a trial basis will not be given the annual day anchoring, right? But what will the teacher, the principal do? The principal will do the simplest task to the teacher whom he found effective in this area. So what happens? The teacher tries and becomes successful, and gradually the next work, and the most important anchoring part will also be given to the teacher, because he or she has proved that he can very well deal this matter. Do you agree with me, teachers? Is it so? Is it this way you people give training to your children in doing something, or directly you give the most difficult task to some children? Do you do that? Yeah, you do it in a gradual way, right? And that is how the competencies also have to be developed, because competencies you cannot bring within one day. Within one year, simple to complex. You have to give simple to complex task. Within a day, you cannot bring any competency in anybody. Even we will not become competent in anything in a day. But it needs gradual practice. And it needs, gradually we have to elicit, we have to exploit, we have to explore, and we have to bring out. Yes. That is why the principals and the educationists, the top people in the school, give work to the teachers. Yes, persistently we have to do that. Give work to the teachers, because they know that this teacher is good at this. This teacher is good at handling this. So let me give her or let me give him this task. So he will be or she will be able to perform this. So what happens? The competency is developed in the teacher, not in the principal or not in the person who is giving that, but in the teacher. The teacher becomes competent, right? And when the next level, when a little more complex item is given, the teacher becomes more competent. And that is how the schools become instrumental in developing the competencies of teachers. My dear teachers, are we not supposed to develop this kind of a mechanism with the child also to develop his competencies? Do you agree with this? How the principal or how the topmost person in your school assigns works to you and develop your competencies? Are we not supposed to implement the same method in a little bit different way and, bring out the talents in the children to make them competent? Can't we do this? Come on, all of you, please respond. Are you competent enough to do this in your kids? Yes. Yes. If the principal has proven this with you to develop your competency, you can very well do this with your children to develop their competencies. So let us be proud enough to talk to the people that, yes, he was not this, but I made him this. Because I found that he is capable to do this. I saw a little bit of flavor in him. So I gave him task, I gave him work, I improved him, I encouraged him, I motivated him, I inspired him. And he developed this quality in him. Yes. So I have a handful of children in my class who are competent enough to do this and this task. I have a handful of children in my class who are competent enough to take up a lesson when I am not keeping well in the class. Because my children know how to teach the others, what are the skills required to deliver a concept in front of the others we are teaching. Right? Can we do this, teachers? Are we confident enough to do this? Please tell me, are you confident enough to develop a few teachers, student teachers in your classroom to help you, to assist you? Suppose you are not feeling okay today to deliver a content which is very important. Yes, your children have done it. The children have taken the task for you. The children have collaborated the class. The children have managed the class. The children have learned the techniques of delivering the content in the most effective way. Yes, you are confident enough, right? That is competency. So the teacher has made several teachers. Just like how a leader will create several leaders, a teacher will create several teachers. Not exactly he has to be a teacher, but he should be able to manage that situation too. So you taught the children how to learn, how to teach. Naturally, now a child who is capable enough to deliver the content to his peer group will know how to learn that also. So teachers, instead of giving answers to the children, let them make questions. When a child makes a question, the child will know where the answer lies. Instead, what do? We give questions and we ask them to find out the answers. No. Give them questions. Ask them, make a question based on so and so. He will frame a question and he will frame the answer too, because he knows what is the answer for that question. So let us instill these kind of thoughts in children so that they will become competent. They will start thinking. When he start making a question, he will start thinking on it. Right? So it's very important for us to become competent because the world is very competitive. The world is very smart. Nowadays, the present world doesn't require the intelligent brains, but the present world requires smart people. Are we competent enough to produce smart children to the smart world? Then we are smart teachers. Are you? Are you smart enough to produce smart children in your school? Because the world prefers not intelligent children, but smart children. Because intelligence, even if I am intelligent, I should be able to present my intelligence before people. Otherwise, I am not smart. My intelligence will not be counted by anybody. So, are you smart enough to produce smart children? Yes. Yes. Students are forming questions means they have mastered the concept. Exactly. So, my dear friends, do implement these kind of teaching in your classrooms so that children will become befitting to the society, to the country. And we are the most demanded teachers because we know what is the requirement of the society today, the country today. And so itself, we implement that kind of a teaching so that our children will become befitting to the society, to the country. And those children will come back to us and thank us with a heart full, with a grateful heart, saying that you taught me, you made me competent enough to stand in my profession. Very important. Profession is not alone white collar job. There comes a lot of things. So, we have to concentrate on the different domains. So, when we are concentrating on the psychomotor domain, we expect the learner to perform a skill. Allow the learner to practice for a while and then ask for a written demonstration of that skill. If he is able to do that, as I said, if the conversion of electrical energy happens to light energy, why the light did not glow? Let him think. So, the light glows because the electricity is converted into light. The light bulb didn't glow because that conversion didn't happen. So, what was the problem there? Let him think. Okay, that is how a simple electrician rises. That is how a simple electrician rises. That is a profession. That is a skill. That is a competency. Are we doing this with our kids? After learning lot on magnetism and electricity, are our children fit enough to become a simple electrician in the country in his lifetime? Then what electricity were we teaching to the children? Why did we waste so many of his years? Let us start thinking on it. Am I wrong, teachers? Am I asking you a wrong question? After learning years together about electricity, the children don't know to become a simple electrician. What are the techniques, basic concepts? He, of course, has to learn a lot, right? But then we couldn't, make him, at least for a livelihood, for earning his bread. This concept did not bring any use in him. Then why did he waste his years in the classrooms? So let us start thinking like that. Let us start thinking on the life of the children in the future world. How will they exist with this concept? Why are we making them seated in the classroom for long years and teaching all this if it is not going to help them out in the life? We need not blame the curriculum. The curriculum has everything in it. We have to change our strategies and methodologies. We have to change our attitudes and thoughts. We, instead of doing that, we keep blaming the textbooks. No textbook has ever told us not to teach it, not to implement your competency in delivering this content. But we are with the tuned, stereotyped methodology. Let us change that. Let us become competent so that our children will become competent. Yes, arrange sufficient practical experiences requiring skill performance under your supervision. Let us stand and observe. Let us not prompt the children, but let us stand and observe. Let him do himself. Let us have patience, right? And then how the affective domain works? Value addition must happen. Value clarification exercises must be given on personal values. We keep hearing a lot in the social media around us in the world. No values for people, right? Nobody helps the others. Everybody is selfish. But then why? The education system must make people think, because the children do remain with us for the entire day. So teachers have a great role in imparting values to the children. We are not there to simply simplify the lessons and conduct tests and give them score, but teach them values too, because they sit with us in the classrooms. They collaborate with several children. They learn to live socially in the school, be it online or offline. In online, when we are seated, how to behave. Now we all are, interacting online. We are interacting. You are interacting with me. I am interacting with you. You are hearing me. I am hearing you. But then we know that there are certain basic principles and decorum to be maintained, right? This is a skill. The children have to learn to collaborate, either online or offline. So the social living of the children most of the time happen in the school. But are we giving them enough values? The children's daytime has been spent with us. Are we not concentrating on delivering the content and making them fit to pass the examination than giving values when the child is seated from morning till evening with us? Are we not blaming them more than guiding them? Are we not blaming them more than correcting them? Because children don't know mistakes. That is why they commit mistakes. Are we not supposed to rectify the error? So the value building must happen, and that is what is called as affective domain. So provide a framework for written analysis of learner activities against measurable outcomes. Out of this particular activity, what outcome? Just let us observe, is there any value reflected in that? It's very important. Yes, let us give them opportunities for role play, requiring different values and beliefs. When they are playing roles, different roles, they are accommodating people, they are respecting the others, they are respecting their time, they are respecting their opinion. That is building values. And then how these differences will affect the individual's performance, very important, because these all add on to competencies. A competent person will not be arrogant with others, will not be impatient with others, will be tolerant with others, will be patient with others, will have time value, will have respect for others, because these all are, additions of, competencies. If we have all these, only the person can reflect on his competency, and others will identify him as a person capable enough to manage the situation, whether it is a challenge or a crisis. He knows to manage people, because man management, people management is a skill. That is another competency, right? If I have a lot of knowledge, that's not enough. I must know how to put it across with the people seated in front of me who are of different mentality. I must be able to manage them. I must have patience and tolerance with them. If I don't have it, I don't have the competency. What is the use of my knowledge? Because I don't know how to manage the people in front of me and then present myself. It's very important. That's another competency. And arrange discussions on values and beliefs. Okay, then create a valid assessment tool. When we talk about cognitive domain, support learner-led discussions, structured debates to address practical situations. Teachers, do you arrange discussions in your classes when you are delivering some content? Do you arrange some ED talks or TED talks when you are in the class at least once in a while? Do you give space for the children? Come on, children, let us talk on this particular topic today. Let us move a little bit ahead and let us deviate a little bit and then talk on this particular topic today. Not simply loose talks, but some creative topic on which wonderful, very good. All are writing yes, very good. That is a teacher. A teacher is not only to, teach the concepts written in the textbook, but also to elicit from the children, because we all are learners. We all are learners. We are learners till our death. So even the LKG child will be able to teach us so many things. So just let us make a platform to share the knowledge between the children as well as the teacher, or among the children. Children know a lot. They have a lot of knowledge. They are so curious to express it. But the problem is they fear that they will be commented negatively. So let's build the confidence. Let us give space for free talks on some particular topic, what is happening around. Let them express their opinions. Let us remark and comment on it. Let us note it. What each child has talked. Yes, we can find flavors in children, which area he will be good at. When we are arranging topics on different topics, we arrange talks. We can find on which topic he will shine, on which subject he will shine. The basic taste, the flavor we can find out from the basic classes itself, right? So avoid the temptation to answer every learner question. Yeah, we teachers do that. We don't have patience. The child is trying to pick something and answer us, but we don't have patience. What happens? We try to give the answer. Let us give him time. Let us give him time. You would have seen, I'm asking you some question at times and then I'm waiting for your response. And I'm giving you time. Come on, start thinking and put your responses. So let us not, haste the child. Let us not haste the child. Come on, children, say quickly, say quickly. He will be in a hurry and his thought process will not happen positively. That's very important. So it is a rich learning environment. Competency-based education will focus on rich learning environment. So children will be engaged in learning process. So, meaningful context have to be there. Multidisciplinary approach has to be there. Constructive learning must happen. Okay. Constructive learning must happen. We must think on whether we are constructive in learning. The learning must happen cooperative and interactive learning with peers and teachers. That's what we were discussing. Peer teaching, peer learning, helping the teachers, conceptualize learning, divide the concepts and give it to children. Let them present. Yes. So let them involve, let him take the ownership of his learning. He will collect so many points. He will never forget that. He will involve in the process. The online class will not go boring because he knows that I have something to do in this. I have to be alert. I shouldn't be sleeping. Yes, I should be responding. I should be attentive. So discovery learning. Let the children learn, find out why did I learn this and where can I implement this? Very important. Reflective learning. Give him, let him understand his needs, motivation, and then, let him develop learning to learn. Very important. So he will reflect on his learning and, personal learning will happen. So on which context, which person, which situation, these all he will understand. So teachers, what are the advantages of competency-based education? Flexible. Do you think in competency-based education, we need to be flexible? Please put your response. We have to be rigid teachers or flexible teachers? Please put your response. Yes, Shyamala, flexible. Yes, wonderful. Yes, all are writing. We have to be flexible, right? We cannot be like, very rigid in this, because if we are rigid, you cannot bring any competency. Yes, be patient, be flexible. Very good, important. Thank you so much. Personalized. Do you feel the learning must be for personalized learning? Every child is important. Every context is important. Every person's competency development is important. Yes. Yes or no? Should it be flexible? Yes, it should be flexible. Yes. And do you believe it should be skill-based? or theory based? Skill based or theory based? What is the answer? Skill based. Learning must be skill based, right? So it should be affordable, because too much of cost, no. Oh, you buy this, and then you start. No. Should we impose a lot of money on them for learning something? Hey, you do this project, you buy these items, you do this project, you do this, you buy this, only then you can do this. Does it imply? No, it should be affordable. Do you agree with this? It should be affordable. Learning must be affordable. Education must be affordable, right? So teachers, these are the advantages of, competency-based education. So in competency-based education, what are there? Please type. What are there? Skills, abilities, knowledge. Do you agree with this? Should we have all this in an education? Suppose you are a teacher who want to develop the competencies in your children. You will see that his skills are improved. You will see that you will improve his abilities. And you will see that he has knowledge. Will you focus on this? Come on. Everybody must respond, okay? Will you be able to focus on these aspects? When I teach this particular concept, my child should learn this and this. He must have this knowledge. He must be able to do this. Can we think like that? Sure. We can think like that, isn't it? That much we can think, because we are so educated people, practicing teaching in the classes for a long time. So we can very well think on it, right? So competency-based, the benefits are improved clarity and transparency, more seamless personalization of learning. It helps shift towards a culture of assessment, self-assessment and student assessment. Students better understand their own learning profile. Yes, how much can I learn? My potential I will understand. Oh, this will become difficult for me because I am only this much. We will get to know what is my potential, right? So, friends, students advance upon demonstrated mastery. They include measurable, explicit, and transferable learning objects to empower the students. Assessment becomes meaningful and positive learning experience for children. Very important. We normally threaten the children with assessment. No. Assessment should be positive learning experience for the children. Then, students receive timely, differentiated support based on their learning needs. So, different children need different, helps, supports, assistance. The teacher will provide individualized support and assistance. Learning outcomes emphasize competencies that include application and creation of knowledge, along with the development of skills and dispositions. So, competency-based or mastery-based learning involves measurable and explicit outcomes, clear learning outcomes and rating systems, differentiated and timely support, meaningful and positive assessment, personalized learning, and advancement upon mastery. Please take a screenshot of this. Okay, so this is a little bit philosophical, but make it into practical as how we discussed, right? And now just let us summarize this with this slide. Yes. So here, what happens is in the competency-based education, the student performance is determined by individual growth and mastery. That is what we have to understand. Now tell me, what is the example of a competency? See, a competency for a restaurant waiter may be the ability to effectively handle customer complaints. Do you agree with this? Do you agree with this? What is the competency for a restaurant waiter? He must handle customer complaints, right? He must treat his customers well, isn't it? Yes. Whereas for an accountant, what is his competency? The financial data has to be analyzed properly. Now tell me, teachers, what is the competency required for the front office assistant of your school? She has to have a competency, right? What should be her one of her competencies? You please type. Your school's front office assistant. What is the competency? Suppose you are putting your yes, very good. Communication skill is one of the competencies. Communication skill, good communication skill. Yeah, pleasing attitude, very important. Very important. She should have a pleasing attitude. Then, good communication skill, friendly behavior, very important. Then, can you name any other most important quality required for the front office assistant of your school? These are all very important, but something is more important. What is that? Patience, very important, because whatever complaints the people are having, when they call up the school office, the front office, whoever picks the phone, they will show the anger. Am I right? Their emotions will be poured on the person who is attending the phone call. Am I right, teachers? And then what happens? They will pour out all their emotions on that person who is first attending the phone call. Am I right? Do you experience, do you feel this? And then what happens? Suppose the person doesn't have the patience and he or she started, pouring back on them. What will be the condition you imagine? Imagine the condition. There will happen a, very wrong impression about the school in the mind of the person. They may be the reason for making us so. Still, being there in that position, the person has to be very patiently and tolerantly dealing that. Do you agree with this? Do you agree with this? Because the first thing the person must understand is that this anger, what he is pouring out, is not on me. It is his problem. Isn't it? It is his problem what he is trying to pour out. So he is not shouting at me. So let me listen to him patiently. Yes. Knowledge about the day-to-day matter of the school, because she has to communicate that to the person asking. Right? So the competency is different. Right? What is the DTP operator of your school office? What is his competency requirement? Can you please tell me? Come on, type. Whatever you feel. The DTP operator of the school office must have a competency. Can you name one competency? Concentration, very important. Has to concentrate and do. Then, anything else? DTP operator. What should he do? Technical skill, very, very important. Technical skill is very important. Give the result in timely manner. Technical skill is very important, right? So that is his competency. He should be competent enough to do that. Accuracy. He should be accurate in the data, right? So these are certain competencies, right? So we have talked on this. Competency-based education for students, it should be flexible, self-paced, engaging, affordable, and skill-based. Multiple applications true. And then, outcome-based education is something which connects with the competency-based education. Outcomes must be the competencies. When the competencies become the outcomes, we are successful. Outcome-based education is nothing but we have to focus on the outcome, and that outcome should be the competency. Okay. So, develop their skills and knowledge. That is something very important. see this? Regardless of the age, are grouped together in one class. Okay, so they learn together. Then in activity-based learning, what else happens? My classmates and I are the center on this approach. And I actively involved in this, mentally and physically. Learning by doing. Okay, that is activity-based learning. Then in the process of learning, what happens? Experience, memorize, and understand. Active problem-solving methods are involved. Okay, through investigation and analysis. And then it builds our self-confidence. It provides opportunity for social relations between different age groups. Varied experiences for my classmates, and also experience skills and values. So what? Gathers knowledge, concepts and skills. It is constructive, it is expressional. Okay, these all are very, very important. So what is the teacher's role in this? If we have to make all this, the teacher should be a planner, an organizer, an evaluator, a facilitator, and a decision maker. Okay, and also I have to effectively organize the activities by involving my students in the learning process, ensuring that each student is made an active learner, ensuring that each activity answers the following questions: what, how, whom, where, how long, all this. Okay, and I can use several resources for this. And teachers, we have spoken about assessment. So assessment, you see two people there. The report card is given in one hand, and the child, what is he thinking? Why is A or B better than C or D? Aren't all the letters equal in the eyes of God? Yes. Why is it that some children in the class are better than somebody else? Are not all the children equal in the class? Then why this differentiation? So assessments should not create syndromes. Very important. Okay. So, dear friends, set your methodology of teaching like this. Learning objective. What is the objective of teaching this particular concept? And what is the outcome you expect from this? What competency or outcome you expect from this? Set your process or pedagogy accordingly, because the process becomes the building block. Okay, and then your Bloom's taxonomy, focus on the Bloom's taxonomy accordingly. That is knowledge, understanding, application, then creating, evaluating, all this you set accordingly. So see that you have effective classroom teaching, you conduct seminars, you give assignments, you give them problems to solve, you encourage group learning, you encourage peer tutoring, and you increase questioning ability. Okay, and professional development is something very, very important. Teachers have to continuously undergo professional development programs, because you know the world is changing a lot. Do you agree with this? Do you feel that we have to always keep upskilling and updating? Teachers, please respond. How many of you believe that we have to keep updating and upskilling? If we are not upskilled and updated, you know, we are rotten in the field of the education. I tell you one thing very important, my dear friends. All the teachers in the present school system, in the education system, keep crying, telling that we keep doing a lot of work because the education has transferred to online education. Don't you feel it? Now we have to prepare so much. We have to make PPTs, we have to check the papers online, we have to correct, we have to make the report card, we have to make the consolidated sheets, we have to make the, issue, we have to conduct even parents meeting, we have to conduct, children's programs, activities, all these we have to do online. Don't you feel this burden? Come on, give the answers very quickly. Do you feel that, yes, we are really burdened, ma'am? Sir, too much of workload. Don't you feel this? Come on, quickly. Don't worry, your principals will not say anything. No burden. Very good. So you feel sometimes, not sometimes, many of us feel it's too much of a workload, isn't it? But come on, quickly, come on, you write your answers, no problem at all, because we are going for a simple talk, okay? Because I am also a school principal. I know what my teachers feel, okay? I know what my teachers, so many of them, what do they feel? The big team, what do they feel? Yes, they feel that I have to do a lot of work. But my dear friends, it is the big truth that teachers who are not having skills to deliver the content online and do all this work, yes, we find a little hard. It is the truth, 100% truth that we feel a little bit hard, right? But then we have to understand one big truth, that education in the classrooms is gone away now. COVID has taken it out. Okay. So the teachers who were excellent in the physical classrooms are not excellent now in the online mode. Who are excellent teachers in the online mode? Those who are very much techno savvy, those who are very much surviving with all these strategies, those who are very much capable enough to acquire all these skills very, very quick and fast, those who are very much able to adapt to all these systems are the most wanted teachers now. So there has happened a transition in our job. That is, we all turned from offline to online. So all the efforts what we have taken is for making our own survival the best. So when we have taken a lot of efforts, yeah, we are adapting ourselves to the system transition from offline to online. So do take them very positively, because the schools are giving us all these professional developments, all these training programs to make us survive in the field of education now, in the present scenario. So should we not be thankful to the school who is providing us a lot of training programs online, different online tools, how to make the classroom very effective, because they are trying to hold us in the system. Otherwise, if we are not capable enough to hold on to the system, we are outdated. Nobody wants us. The school can very well tell us, be at home, take rest. Once the school is back to physical condition, we will call you, because you don't have online efficiency, isn't it? But should we not be thankful to the school who is making us survive in the world, survive in the education field, because a big transition has happened in the school education, in the education field, right? So let us take it all very positively. Let us undergo lots and lots of training, because tomorrow, once the COVID is normalized, everything, yes, we are thankful. I am very thankful to my school management who gives all the opportunities for my development, because all these developments ultimately lies in me. Ultimately lies in me. It makes me competent in my field. So I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful to all the opportunities I get. I take it all very positively, because that makes me more and more competent to survive in the challenging world. It makes me, fit in the crisis time, exist in the crisis time. So undergo a lot of professional development training programs. Very important. Okay. So when the children will realize the fruit of success, when they will understand what is the effect of failure, when they get a lot of encouragement, when they feel inspired and motivated, as we spoke some time back, the children will improve their performance. And when the children improve their performance, naturally, the teacher feels satisfied. The teacher became successful. The teacher became an inspiring teacher. Now, please tell me, can you become that inspiring teacher for your children? Yes? If you feel that online teaching is very important because you have to exist in the field, it is for the survival you are doing this, can't you tell your children that online education is very important because it is making you fit in the future world? Can't you tell this to your children? Yes. If you are able to talk this to the children and convince them, yes. If you are able to convince your children with this, you are the most successful teacher now, because you could capture the attention of the children in the online education so that he become actively involved and he developed a lot of competencies for his future education and future life, his professional development, right? So become those inspiring people because lots of online competencies are required for the future world. 21st century skills are required. Do instill those kind of thoughts in the minds of the children, so you become self-inspired, you become self-motivated, and you inspire your kids, so that both the children and the teachers and the entire school, the parent fraternity will go satisfied, and education will find its meaning. Definitely, we will be happy that once upon a time there was a COVID attack in the world, and that taught us all this, and that is how I am competent enough to live in the world in my profession today. Let us talk to the children after 20 years of living in the future, how the world would be. And this is a basic preparation for you to live in that challenging time. Let us talk to the children today, so that they will become inspired, and they will foresee, they will envisage what will happen in the future, and so itself they will become thoughtful that yes, I have to live in my life in the future world. When my parents are not with me, I will be surviving in the world, and I must get all competencies and efficiencies and skills, and my teachers and parents are teaching those. So it is my responsibility to own them. Let us talk to the children. Yes, because before doing anything, motivating and convincing the team is something very important. So talk to your team, talk to yourself, talk to your children, convince them, motivate them, inspire them, and make them ready to listen to you. Make them ready to learn from you. Make them ready to compete with the world. Make them ready to learn competencies. Can you do that, my dear friends? Are you competent enough to do that? Come on, quickly. Put your answers quickly. Are you competent enough to do that? Yes. Wonderful. Very good. Wonderful. So, accordingly, decide your teaching learning components accordingly. Make your theory for understanding. Include practicals for developing skills. Include seminars for developing communication skills. Give them problems to solve out. Give them assignments for cognitive development, and arrange programs and projects in small or big groups. Okay. Inspire and motivate, peer learning, reflective learning. Okay. So involve them in inquiry-based instructions. Okay. Apply technology in the classroom as we are doing now, because technology is very, very important. I'm not talking much on it. So make the classroom the most joyful place, because if the children feel that, yes, with this concept, when I learned this concept, I gained this skill, that he will be the happy child, joyful child. Okay. So make your pedagogy accordingly by involving joyful learning, art integration, experiential learning. All these the CBSE have introduced, and these all will give a lot of learning and enthusiasm in the process of learning. Okay. And the school should be the most happy place for the children, because there's such a big age, number of years is spent with the teachers and the friends. So all classroom interactions have to be made as joyful experiences for them. Instead of making the children hate the online teaching, let us adopt a lot of new strategies and innovations, so that the children will love online learning, because now we don't have any other methodology than keeping them attracted towards it. It is our survival too. Yes. So let us put those medicines in the survival kit and implement it in the classroom. Okay. So let us become competent enough to do that. I'm not talking about art integration, because you know that experiential learning you have learned, but teachers, please do make your lesson plans accordingly. And when you are making your lesson plans, please think, who am I teaching? Don't write your lesson plans for the principal and supervisors and HODs in the classroom, in the school. But whom will you write the lesson plan for? Who will be in your focus when you are writing the lesson plan? Please put your answer. Who will be in your mind when you are writing your lesson plan? Principal signature, HOD signature, students, wonderful. The children will be in the minds, because I am writing it for the children, right? Yes. What am I teaching is very important. What am I going to talk today? is very important. How am I going to deliver this? Because this topic seems to be a little bit tough, right? So I must make it the most simple and curious for the children, enthusiastic for the children. So how will I teach this? And how will I know if the children have done it, they got it? Assessment, accordingly I have to set, right? So select your content area, identify the key concepts and connectors, explore what are varied resources you can get, design your teaching learning strategies, prepare your presentations like questions, illustrations, explanations, etc. Design what type of assignment you will do, assessment you will do, review and remediate, and then prepare your assignments too. Okay? And when you are preparing all these, do take care that at the end of the period, you must be satisfied that yes, some competency, some outcome I have created in my child. I could at least inspire one child to learn this concept. Yes, let us be satisfied for that. So teachers, let us practice this. See, somebody is telling, I taught Stripe how to whistle. The teacher is telling, the person who taught is telling, I taught Stripe how to whistle. Then the other person is telling, I don't hear him whistling. Then what is he telling? Array, I said I taught him. I didn't say he learned it. Right? So instead of assessing whether we taught or not, let us assess whether he learned it or not. That's very important. So we know to teach. We are expert teachers, experienced teachers, excellent teachers. But we will become successful teachers when our children learn it. So we should focus not on teaching, more on learning. Less on teaching, more on learning. More on teaching, more on learning. Why? Because for the learning, we must teach. We must teach for learning to happen. Right? So, a competent person performing a task will possess a combination of skills, knowledge, attitudes, and behaviors required for effective performance of the task or activity. So, my dear teachers, just do remember this slide once again, which I had shown you some time back. Do you interact well with your students? Do you create a learning environment? Are you good at designing a good lesson plan? Are you able to use varied teaching strategies? Are you able to assess? Are you able to identify student needs? Are you good at communication? Are you able to collaborate? Are you able to maintain a professional appearance? Are you a committed teacher to your profession? Now tell me whether you are all these or not. Say me yes or no. Do you have all these competencies in you? Single word, yes or no. Are you confident to say an yes on this? Come on. Do you have all these competencies in you? Once again, I'm asking you because I had asked you this question some time back. Yes, you are competent, right? Yes, you have all these in you. Then answer this. Are you competent? Yes. Yes, you are competent enough to teach the children today. So let us be those competent teachers who are capable enough to make competent children befitting the country of tomorrow. Right? So wishing you all the best. Okay, wish to see you all the most competent teachers in the locality, and with a great demand of children rushing to your school to come out as most competent students of the community, of the locality. Right? Wish you all the best. Thank you so much.